Welcome back to our last plenary session together, but I'm starting to feel nostalgic already. So many moving conversations here again today at the Women's Forum. So many heart-wrenching stories and so much determination to fight the systemic, endemic discrimination against women. To kick off our last conversation together, I am very pleased to welcome on stage Jean-Luc Allavena, who's chairman of the board of directors at Institute Aspen, France, for some introductory words on collaboration at the heart of reconciliation. So please welcome him on stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your warm welcome, and thank you for having me. It's an impressive audience. I don't see so many men, by the way, and I'm surprised because there should be more attending, because all this, according to me, is not only about you women, but mostly about us. And for good reasons, not because it would be according to the law or because it's the best standards or because you deserve it, which is true. I think it's because we are here to talk about reconciliation, about how we can work together, about we can be better together. And I hope in the next sessions will be, or at least I'll do a lot of publicity about this event to make sure that more men will join you, and also because we bring value together, and I think this is the most important. A few months ago, we've celebrated at HEC. You know, I've been the chairman of the alumni worldwide. A few years ago, we celebrated 50 years of gender diversity. It's the case, by the way, in many schools in France and abroad, and many institutions. And we spoke about it today at lunch. We also celebrate very soon 15 years of the law Copé-Zimmermann, and just two examples to say that many things are behind us, thank God, because when we all started taking actions a few decades ago, it was more about protecting, about giving access, and now it's really about engagement, about how you can facilitate, have more impact, have more unity. And it's much more positive than what we had to do 20 or 25 years ago. So this is for good. I've been asked to join here precisely as a witness of almost 3 decades of commitment and observation of these evolutions, as well as sharing with you a few personal experiences and a journey, what has been for me a journey, helping in this action for women. And also, and it's part of the history, but more than 20 years ago, when I was the chief operating officer of Allavena, I received a visit of Aude de Twin. She had an idea at the time, can we create a forum dedicated to women? Can we do more? And she asked me to help because we had at the same time created the same action for HEC with HEC au Féminin, which I supported when I was the chairman. So this is a whole journey, and I've been asked to share a few of these steps over, I would say, 3 decades. First and foremost, because I'm the father of 4 daughters. Some of them are here. I have to be cautious because they will listen to what I say, and you know how tough they can be. And I'm already the grandfather of 3. So when I look at them, I see and I know how they embody this future, and they have a strong role to play. So I always wanted to be involved, not only for them, but for common good. But it's clear that having this kind of family, you're probably more sensitive, and it's good because we are some of fathers with, we even created a few years ago a club of the fathers of 4 daughters, and this was a lot of fun During the first 15 years of my activities and in business, I've spent most of my time for two industrial companies. This was Lyonnaise des Eaux, which you would call Suez today, and Péchinet, which probably you would call Rio Tinto and Constellium. This is part of the history of the French industry. And clearly, during the end of the 80s and the 90s, the number of women at high level of responsibilities was very low. But we could already see some of them appearing. Probably the names will not ring a bell for you, but Christine Morin-Postel for Lyonnaise des Eaux was a major and an important person at the head of the company. I worked a lot with them. And Christelle Bory, who is still today the chairman of the board of Eramet, already was very active and at the head of part of Péchinet at the time. And I even met at that time Christine Lagarde, who was for Baker McKenzie, the lawyer of Péchinet. So we could feel that things were starting, but there was a need for a strong commitment from all of us. In 2001, and not in business, but as I mentioned, pro bono, I was elected as the chairman of HEC, and we had to help because my predecessor, Maurice de Cavenoel, had done a full analysis of the whole population and realized that there was a strong need for specific services, specific commitment from us for women, and we did. And you had at the beginning personalities like Mercedes Serra, who became the first chair of the HEC Alumni Association after 123 years of existence of this school. I also appointed the first vice chair, and we had a small group which supported the Women's Forum. So the beginning of this millennium was really key for those who have been involved in these actions. As the chief operating officer of Lagardère, the population was different, but still more women in publishing, in journalism, management, and personalities who are still very important here in the French community, like Anne-Marie Couder, like Constance Benquet, like managers who have really been taken from the beginning of their career to the highest position. And this gave a strong feeling of optimism for this, let's say, evolution step by step. I'll say the same of another personal experience. During 2 years, I'm from a very old family of Monaco. I'm a Monegasque, and I became the first chief of staff of Prince Albert when he became the sovereign prince. And during 2 years, it was the same. We started initiating many laws supporting women in their life, in their personal life, but also in their activities, and appointed the first women within the government and the princely cabinet and a few other important positions. And lastly, I joined 18 years ago one of the largest investment funds called Apollo Management. Atlantis, my company, represents Apollo in France. And I must say, after having had these successive steps with a lot of hope, this went down because in these sectors and many financial institutions, this was not the situation. More or less in private equity, there were no women, and especially none of them being prepared to grow the same way as us and to be involved. I even remember a search firm, I asked, why don't we have in the lists more women? And I can't even dare saying what they replied. Basically, nobody asked us, oh, do you need somebody to ask you in 2007, 2008 to hire women when it's so obvious? Probably most of them seem to just don't really care. 20 years later, we have partners, we have principals, we have associates, and even the question of lifestyle is not a question anymore. We get more adapted to this way of working. French-American Foundation, you mentioned also Aspen. That's clear. We have another role to play in pro bono institutions. look for leaders, look for the new generation. We have this Young Leaders program. We have young leaders for common good. We have young European leaders. And that's going to be one of my conclusions now, which is in these institutions, we can do what we sometimes cannot do as easily within our companies. And we can add to the whole system to make sure we make it progress and there are strong improvements. And within the new generation, we have to identify the leaders who want to take the same kind of commitment as the one I took many years ago. And we have measured now very clearly the positive impact that it gives in the unity, in the cross-fertilization, in the skills that we can develop. So to wrap this up between pro bono, state, business, I think the link between all these actions, all these personal experiences over, as I said, almost 3 decades, have been, number one, clearly there's still a lot to do. Yesterday, after the opening of the forum, I went to the famous dinner of Le Siècle, as once a month, and I chair a table, and there was 1 woman with 7 men. This is probably today the ratio. We have to change this. I remember last year there was a change 18 months ago for the Grand Chancellor of the Légion d'honneur. This could be a woman in the future if it, was come from the military organizations. And why not a president in a country like this? So there is a lot to do. We've done a lot. We've accomplished a lot together, which is my second message. Nothing can be done without being a strong commitment at a collective level and where people all get involved at the same time and with the same energy. There's no free rider. It's impossible. We are all responsible for this. The third one is, and I know there is the next panel, and I assume you're standing up to introduce them, so the timing is perfect. We're going to talk about youth, about how you take your responsibilities, how are you going to make this world make significant progress. Get all together. Our responsibility is to identify you, is to promote you, is to manage our transmission, and this is a global responsibility. And you have to become leaders. You have to take the lead. You have to take the same energy as the one we had 20, 30 years ago to build the future of this world. You must lead by example, and we have to be your mentors. Everybody can be a mentor. Everybody can decide to replicate and to be more active. As the Americans say, we don't want to fly to the moon because it's easy. Precisely, we want to fly to the moon because it's very challenging. So I hope you will all be the agents of this change. And for the young generations that are going to follow me, we're here to help you. We've been dedicated for a long time, and we will never stop. Thank you for listening to me and having me with you.
Jean-Luc, Allavena, thank you very, very, very much indeed for joining us this afternoon.